Words are in relationship with each other just as people are. You might behave one way with a parent or teacher and another way with a friend. Words do the same thing. Their meaning can change and grow in relation to other words. A word made up of two smaller words is called a compound word. Think about the word backpack. Backpack is a pack you wear on your back, so it makes sense. Now let's look at the words on the board. Overnight, tiptoe, gentleman, drugstore, and doorway. I want you to come up here and kind of mark through the words as written on the board. Then I want you to piece the words together to create a definition. Let's look at page 82 in the student books. Let's look at our instructions. Read the excerpt. Underline the compound words in the excerpt and write them on the lines. Draw a line between the two smaller words and write the definition. Let's read the paragraph together. Two-Bit reached into his back pocket for his prized possession. It was a jet-handled switchblade 10 inches long that would flash open at a mere breath. It was the reward of 2 hours of walking aimlessly around a hardware store to divert suspicion. He kept it razor sharp. As far as I knew, he'd never pulled it on anyone. He used his plain pocket knife when he needed a blade. But it was his showpiece, his pride and joy. Every time he ran into a new hood, he pulled it out and showed off with it. Now I want you to complete the activity. You're going to underline the compound words, then write them in the numbers below, and then write a definition based on the parts of the word. We have talked about different ways to categorize words. Thinking about the questions that words answer helps us put words into certain categories. What category of words answers the who or what question? What category of words answers the did what question? What category of words paint the verb and answer the when, where, or how questions? We have used these questions to help us write and comprehend sentences. What about words that describe nouns? Words that describe nouns can be placed into a category as well. We often describe people, places, and things using adjectives. Adjectives answer the which one, what kind, or how many questions. What words answer the which one, what kind, or how many questions? Let's look at the sentences on the board. Pony Boy fondly remembered the childhood friend. Two-Bit carried a fancy switchblade. The three brothers lived together alone. What is the question being answered with the underlined words? Let's look at page 83 in the student books. Read the sentences and underline the adjectives in each sentence. Look for the words that answer the which one, what kind, or how many question. Some sentences will have more than one adjective. Listen as I model the examples. And he knows that he can count on his friends, true friends who would do anything for him. I am looking for words that describe the who or what in a sentence. Do I know what kind of friends Pony Boy is talking about? Yes, they are true friends, so I underline true. He was as pale as the pillow. What do I know about the subject? I know he was pale, so I underline pale. I figured Southern gentlemen had nothing on Johnny Cade. What kind of gentleman? Southern gentleman, so I underline Southern. Let's look at the first sentence. We have to keep an eye out for our nouns and ask ourselves if the sentence provides any descriptive words related to the who or the what. Read the first sentence. Do we know anything about what kind of gang? Underline vicious. Do we know anything about what kind of kids? Underline rich. Do we know anything about any of the other naming words or nouns in the sentence? Now I want you to identify the adjectives in the remaining sentences. We will go over the answers together. Sometimes we use more than one adjective to describe someone or something. Coordinate adjectives are equal modifiers and must be separated by a comma or conjunction in a sentence. Let's look at the first sentence on the board. Notice that there are two adjectives describing Johnny's eyes and two adjectives describing his mom's eyes. Both sets are separated by the word and. Both fearful and sensitive are of equal importance, and if we switch the order of the adjectives, it doesn't change the meaning. This is also true for cheap and hard. We can easily say Johnny Cake's eyes were sensitive and fearful, hers were hard and cheap. Now let's look at the next sentence. In this sentence, there are three adjectives. Let's focus first on the two adjectives separated by a comma. Since they are separated by a comma, what kind of adjectives must they be? That means they are of equal importance in the sentence, and that we could switch the order and it wouldn't matter. Try it. Now let's look at the first adjective, usual. Notice that this adjective is not separated from mean with a comma or a conjunction, so that means it is not of equal importance. In this particular sentence, mean and ornery are describing Dally, and usual is needed to describe how often he is mean and ornery. Therefore, we can't switch the order of the adjectives. Let's look at the last sentence. Let's look at the two adjectives that modify hair and the two adjectives that modify eyes. Switch the order and see if it means the same thing. In this sentence, straight is describing her black hair and big is describing her black eyes. Therefore, they are not of equal importance and thus not coordinate adjectives. Remember, not all consecutive adjectives must be separated by a comma because they are not equal modifiers, which means that one adjective is actually describing the already modified noun. Let's look at the two sentences on the board. A comparison is being made in the first sentence. Derry, Ponyboy's brother, is being compared to Ponyboy's parents. Not only do we know that Derry is strict, but we also know that he is stricter than his parents. When we compare two things by describing them, often we can add ER to express the comparison. What's being compared in the second sentence? Two-Bit is close to crying. When I read that, I see a boy whose eyes may be watering or turning red and with a sad expression on his face. I also know Ponyboy has never seen him cry, but he has seen him close to tears before. However, this moment he is more close or closer to crying than the times before. Writers use comparisons to create rich images drawing on what the reader